Yes, we are doing Pusha P today. DAYTONA. Now, of course, Pusha T needs no introduction at all. He's just a good bloody rapper that we all already know. Hallelujah. Now, immediately, the Kanye influence is obvious in the opening moments of the record. If you know, you know. In the beat, in the flow, in the inflection, and the lyrics, and that's no coincidence given that the production is handled by the man himself, not to mention having been a long-term mentor and friend. The beat in that song serves as an interesting contrast to his solo work, being not nearly as rich or as dense, yet still maintaining a familiar purpose and soulful energy. Of course, this album isn't a complete emulation of Kanye, but for the similarity in a couple of flows and lyrics and the occasional theatrical larger-than-life vibe. One only needs to look at the length to work that out, or hear one of the more threadbare, quasi-minimalistic beats, which almost sounds Madlib inspired at times. Take The Games We Play as an example, with that Eastern styling of the rising and falling notes of what seems like a guitar sample, adding so much personality to a beat, which is otherwise just made up of very rudimentary percussive elements and a cheeky sax poking its tail in here and there. I mean, Kanye just has an ear for effective and quite often soulful harmonies, which is so important for melodically coloring and unpacking Push's density and flow and lyricism. Another highlight is the creeping synth whirling up and down over tittering percussive elements and that typified trap-styled bass in What Would the Meek Do? But this album, crucially, is very unique, with one of its best and most immediate qualities being the sheer efficiency with little to no indulgence but for hard, aggressive chicken raps. This is no surprise given just how long it took Kanye to be happy with the finished product. You can hear the perfectionism even despite the lack of detail. And in utilizing only the most necessary rudiments of a hard, good East Coast rap, trap, track, he creates a raw, bootleg kind of sound, which some people do criticize, but it's so purposeful and complements Pusha's style, as I said before, that, you know, I can't fucking criticize it. It's fucking great. And there is thought put into the track listing and how one song should flow into another, no less obvious than the transition between Hard Piano and Comeback Baby. But if there's anything disjointed about this album, it is the beat switches, like on Comeback Baby, which features a completely opposing George Jackson sample with some fantastic raps from Pusha T just riding over the top of dark bassy elements. But the problem is that there are no components which hold the two halves together, so that the result ends up being like two really fucking lovely train carriages getting pulled from opposite directions. And yet there are other samples like the Soman and the Brothers' on Santeria on the other hand, which are slotted in the exact right pacing, mood, and aesthetic. But the real takeaway from this is Pusha T's sheer talent. His performances are consistently professional and grimed with street talk and incisive commentary. He alone gives this album so much replay value for just how dense and grimy and refined his lyricism is, and further backboarded by an album length which makes it easily digestible. Take his somewhat veiled lyrics on If You Know, You Know, where he implies the life of a drug dealer with details and jargon that could only prove his authenticity, boys. Or his sheer braggadocio in calling out the gimmicky rap game and his competitors on Infrared. There are lows on the track listing despite it being so purposed to be airtight, and that is Infrared, funnily enough, and Hard Piano. To me, anyway. The latter contains two samples, one being a detuned piano bouncing about, but it's just so frustrating to hear it looping with those same jarring notes without a progression, especially with Rick Ross. I mean, he's okay, but, you know, Kanye makes him sound a lot better than what he actually is. Fucking hell. As for Infrared, the off-kilter beat is a good base to build from, but the vocal samples aren't very evocative or harmonically interesting, with the only thing saving this track is Pusha T just running his mouth, honestly. And a lot of tracks here have a discernible progression in the introduction of a beat change, and that's obviously because this album is so short and each song follows that rigid structure, but there is potential lost in the lack of the runtime, especially in making each song feel more fleshed out and with maybe a crescendo or discernible progression. But I will admit, if he did go in that more outwardly ambitious and showy direction, it would lose some of that bite and venom which is so purposed to be here, in that Pusha makes you feel like he just crammed a 40-minute album in 20. So this is a 3.8 for me, boys. Just 3.8, and yeah, just fucking, it's just gritty, it's good, it's fun, it's consistent, and it is short and digestible, and yeah, a lot of things a lot of bloody rap albums aren't. I mean, especially with the digestibility. Some rap albums just go balls to the wall with 16 tracks and with 19 of them being filler, but this was just fucking good, boys. Yeah, no filler. I really like that. It was different. It was unique, like I was saying. It's good. So yeah, I'll just fucking catch you later, mate. Just have a good one. And yeah, it's that simple. Just